It's Jets Weekly with your host, Connor Hrabchak.
Hello everyone and welcome into another edition of Winnipeg Jets Weekly. My name is Connor Hrabchak. The Winnipeg Jets just wrapped up a grueling 6-game road trip. I'm going to break down all the games that happened over the past week, starting Monday in Minnesota. If this is your first time checking out Jets Weekly, I'm going to break down all the games that happened this week, then preview the upcoming schedule, and later on in the episode, I'm going to hand out my hardest working Jet and 3 stars of the week. Let's start with that game Monday night in Minnesota. The Winnipeg Jets' one and only win of the week came against their division rivals, the Minnesota Wild, a 4-1 win on the road. And this was a Connor Hrabchak game. The Minnesota Wild with over 20 shots in the first period and ending up with 44 shots on goal, 72 shot attempts, 4.18 expected goals, but only one actual goal. Like I said, Connor Hrabchak up to the task. Alex Iafallo actually scored 2 goals in this game. Those were his 99th and 100th career goals. So congrats to Alex Iafallo on hitting 100 career goals. And that was the story of this game. Nino Niederreiter got the other goal for Winnipeg, and then Adam Lowry scored into the empty net. But it was a great performance in the third period for the Jets, who were way too loose in the first 2 periods, but really locked things down along with Connor Hrabchak in that third period and came away with the win. The Winnipeg Jets have now won 7 straight games against the Minnesota Wild, dating back to late in the 2022-23 season. And this streak is not only impressive because it comes against a Central Division opponent, but maybe the Jets' biggest rival in the Minnesota Wild. That's a heck of a streak. And when it comes to Monday night's game, it was all because of Connor Hrabchak and Alex Iafallo. The Jets, their only win of the week, 4-1 against the Minnesota Wild. That brings us to Wednesday's game, where the Jets lost their first game of a 3-game losing streak, and this was their worst performance of the 3. Only 14 shots on goal in the entire 60 minutes for the Winnipeg Jets. They were facing former Winnipeg Jet David Rittich in net and really didn't test him much at all. Only 1.38 expected goals. And the Kings, one of the top defensive teams in the NHL and one of the top defensive teams in expected goals against as well, and their defensive capabilities were on full display in this game. The Jets power play did go 1 for 3. That's how they got their 1 goal, but ultimately it wasn't enough as the Kings defense was stifling in this game, and the Jets dropped this one 4-1. And that brings us to Friday night's game, a Black Friday game against the Vegas Golden Knights. This one starting a little bit earlier than we're used to for these Vegas games, a 7:30 p.m. local start here in Winnipeg. And the Jets lost this one 4-3. This was an Eric Comrie start. Scott O'Neill said that was the plan all along, that Comrie was going to get this game. And he actually played well. 3.08 expected goals for Vegas, and they end up with 4. The Jets got killed off the rush in this game. Vegas with 3 rush goals, and Scott O'Neill mentioned that after the game. That was where they lost this one. And for a second straight game, they just simply didn't generate enough. Only 25 shots on goal, 2.1 expected goals, and 55 shot attempts. I've mentioned earlier in the year, once you get above that 60 shot attempt range and into the 70s, those are elite numbers. In the mid 50s, I mean, the Jets broke even in this game, 55 to 54 shot attempts. The power play was break even as well, 1 for 3 on both sides of things. But the Jets just couldn't stop Vegas's rush attack, and that proved to be the difference. Brett Howden, the Manitoban, with 2 goals for Vegas in this game, including the game winner, and the Jets dropped their second straight game, this one to Vegas 4-3. That brings us to Sunday's game, where the Jets wrapped up this grueling 6-game road trip with a 3-1 loss to the Dallas Stars. If you take a look at the analytics at 5-on-5 in this game, the Jets were actually the better team at even strength, but they couldn't really establish that rhythm and keep that rolling because they took 5 penalties in this game. The lone bright spot from this game is the fact that the Jets killed all 5 Dallas power plays, 5 for 5 on the penalty kill. An incredible performance, the best of the year from the Jets penalty kill. Not only did Dallas fail to set up at times, but they didn't really generate much at all on those power plays. Obviously, Connor Hrabchak made some big saves, but the Jets, for the most part, kept them to the outside and killed all 5 of those power plays. Adam Lowry got the 1 goal for Winnipeg in the first period, gave them the 1-0 lead. But then it was another story of the Jets simply not generating enough. 27 shots, less expected goals than the game in Vegas, 2.04, and the same amount of shot attempts, 56. They had 55 in Vegas, so they're kind of in that same range. And it really starts with the top line. We talk about Mark Scheifele. Everyone kind of knows he's hurt. He's not really taking faceoffs right now. He had no goals on this road trip, only 2 assists, 10 shots on goal. Kyle Connor hasn't scored in 5 games either. So that top line really needs to get going for Winnipeg. And it's a game like this where they could have used that offensive spark from the top line. If you're looking for a bright spot from the Jets going only 2-4 on this 6-game road trip, It's that, at least on paper, this was their toughest part of the schedule for the entire season. 6-game road trip, that's the longest one they'll go on all season long, and it came against very tough competition. Before the season, no one predicted the Minnesota Wild to be second in the league to the Winnipeg Jets, but they have been that good, and the Jets were able to win that game before taking on the LA Kings, a playoff team who made the playoffs last year, currently in a playoff spot. Vegas on Friday, again, made the playoffs last year, currently in a playoff spot. Dallas, who was first in the Central last year and currently in a playoff spot. So these were tough, some Central Division, mostly Western Conference powerhouse opponents that the Jets were running into. The Dylan Samberg injury, the Nikolai Ehlers injury when he didn't play on Sunday either. This was a very, very tough part of the road trip. The Jets came out of it banged up, but it should be greener pastures going forward in terms of the Jets schedule, but things should lighten up a little bit more going forward in terms of the amount of home games the Jets are playing and the quality of opponent on their schedule. Now, let's get into the awards portion of the video, but before we do that, I want to get to Scott Arniel's comments on Nikolai Ehlers. He missed the game Sunday. Arniel said at practice on Saturday that Ehlers was day-to-day, but here's what Arniel had to say after the game pertaining to Ehlers' injury status.
Nikolai obviously could have used him on the power play tonight, I'm sure, with just his speed and zone. And did anything change, or it just wasn't quite there today?
No, he's still sore, but he has to get home and see our doctors. He'll get home to get our doctors look at him. We'll still go day-to-day until we find out more.
And there it is, Scott Arniel on the injury status of Nikolai Ehlers as the Jets return home. If you're enjoying the video, make sure you hit the like button down below, hit that subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss this exact video every single Monday morning. Recently on the channel, Liz Hood and I released our Team Canada and Team USA roster picks for the upcoming Four Nations face-off. When you're done with this video, go check those out, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the content. Let's get into the awards over the past week for the Winnipeg Jets.
The hardest working Jet.
My hardest working Jet of the week is Adam Lowry. There was maybe no skater more important to the Jets going 5 for 5 on the penalty kill against the Dallas Stars than Adam Lowry was. He was absolutely flying all over the ice, laid a few massive hits in that game as well. It seems as though Adam Lowry always gets up and raises his game against those Central Division opponents, and the Jets played two of them this week against the Minnesota Wild and the Dallas Stars. Adam Lowry, easily the hardest working Jet. I know it's a bit of a cop-out because he's the captain, but every single night he's one of the hardest working Jets, and I had to highlight him for his performance on Sunday. He's my hardest working Jet of the week.
And now, the Jets Weekly 3 Stars of the Week.
My third star of the week is Cole Perfetti. I mentioned the Vegas game earlier where the Jets came up just short and lost 4-3, but Cole Perfetti in that game snapped an 11-game goal drought with 2 goals. The first one, he deflects a Josh Morrissey point shot past Adin Hill, and then the second one, a 3-on-2 for the Jets. Morrissey shoots it low far pad, lands right on the tape of Perfetti, who makes no mistake. He's now up to 6 goals in the season, 11 assists, and 17 points in 25 games. Really nice to see Cole Perfetti break that goalless drought, maybe get that confidence back in him. He's my third star of the week. My second star of the week for his 99th and 100th career goals in the NHL, it's Alex Iafallo. Not only was he a big reason for the Jets winning that game on Monday against the Minnesota Wild, but he's actually moved up in Nikolai Ehlers' absence. Nikolai Ehlers injured in that game early against the Vegas Golden Knights. Iafallo stepped up, and then on the Sunday game, Iafallo was on the second line alongside Vlad Nemeskov and Cole Perfetti, and I thought he played great in that role. He's my second star of the week. My first star of the week, how could it not be Connor Hellebuyck after that performance on Monday against the Minnesota Wild? 44 shots against, 4.2 expected goals, and only 1 actual goal for the Minnesota Wild. He was an absolute brick wall. There was no way to beat him. And then on Sunday, he played really well against the Dallas Stars as well. A big reason for that 5 for 5 penalty kill that I've mentioned many times throughout this episode. Connor Hellebuyck, it's getting tiresome at this point because he's easily the best goalie in the league. He's my first star of the week. Now let's quickly run through the Winnipeg Jets' upcoming schedule. Coming off of that grueling 6-game road trip against tough competition, they must be returning home for an extended stretch. Nope, not quite. They've got one home game Tuesday, December 3rd against the Central Division opponent, St. Louis Blues, before they're back on the road Thursday night against the Buffalo Sabres, and then Saturday night against the Chicago Blackhawks, December 7th, another Central Division opponent. before returning home, and that's when they'll start an extended home stretch Sunday, December 8th against the Columbus Blue Jackets inside Canada Life Center. I'll be back next Monday breaking down all 4 of these games on Winnipeg Jets Weekly. The Jets with 2 home games and 2 road games this week, but clearly the strength of competition coming up dipping a little bit coming off of that road trip when you get St. Louis, Buffalo, Chicago, and Columbus. And that is going to do it for this edition of Winnipeg Jets Weekly. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you enjoyed, make sure you've hit the like button down below, hit that subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss Winnipeg Jets Weekly every single Monday morning. Make sure you tune in. Huss and Remo, you know they're going live every single Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Central here on the WST YouTube channel. Don't miss Monday's show for reaction from the game against Dallas and previewing the game Tuesday night against the St. Louis Blues. Enjoy the games this week, everyone, and I will see you all next Monday breaking it all down on Jets Weekly. Have a great week, everyone.